Hi there, this is Jim Lutzelter from Liberty, just checking to see if my audio is on for when I present.
February the 18th, 2026 will please come to order. The first thing on the agenda is the reading of the meeting minutes. Does anybody have any problems? Any questions? May I have a motion?
I move that we adopt the minutes of January 28.
I second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next thing on the agenda is public comment. And I've asked Matt Hartigan to give some explanation, please.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. I did want to note at the end of the agenda, we have a notice just to notify the commission that next week we do have a public comment session in the Delmarva large load tariff docket. And that'll be a hybrid session where customers can participate either by coming to the hearing room or via Zoom to provide comments on that docket.
Thank you.
Madam Acting Chair,
Yes, sir.
in this document today, is the link available or is that able to be found on a website?
Back to the last page, please.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay, there you go. Thank you again. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comment at this point?
Commission, I would, if I'm happy to defer to any members of the public who would like to make comment, but if not, I would choose to make public comment. Great, thank you. Jameson Tweedy, public advocate for the state of Delaware. I just wanted to briefly address the situation that we find ourselves in. We are in the middle of an energy affordability crisis that has been highlighted by the last couple months and the extended prolonged cold snap that we're in. My office is hearing from customers who are having enormous utility bills that are double or triple what they would usually face, customers who cannot meet those bills, customers that live in small houses. Like we had a customer with a 900 square foot townhome whose utility bill was over $600 2 months in a row. This is not sustainable. It's not manageable for people, and we need to find a solution. And the people in this room are disproportionately able to impact what those solutions are and how we address this crisis. And so I would urge us all in what we do, in what we consider, in what we approve, in how we spend how we spend money that we expect ratepayers to bear, that we all keep that in mind, and that we also look for creative, innovative policy solutions to try and address this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Acting Chair, I just wanted to check with Kendall to see if there is anyone online who wishes to make public comment. If you could raise your hand and you'll be unmuted. Not seeing anyone. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like to question or have removed?
Madam Acting Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Hello?
I'll second.
Heather Williams? Want to finish?
A point of order, Madam Acting Chair. Can we settle the matter on the consent agenda and then I yield? Before we take a vote on the consent agenda, I just want to acknowledge that I had some concerns in the solar community deployments. There are 4 of them on the agenda today. And in the interest of getting these deployments, which can be very valuable and beneficial to the ratepayer, I have worked with staff, and I just want to acknowledge Tricia and Nate for the effort and the responses that they've provided that gave me a comfort level to support the consent agenda as presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
I seconded the motion.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, it looks like we do have somebody online.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Heather Williams, and I'm a resident of Newcastle County. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to make a note that as a residential ratepayer, I understand the utilities are entitled to recover prudently incurred cost along with authorized rate of return. However, what many residents are increasingly concerned about is not a single rate adjustment in isolation, but the cumulative layering of delivery increases, distribution system improvement charges, renewable compliance riders, and other add-ons across multiple dockets over time. For example, when a household uses roughly 1,100 to 1,200 kilowatts an hour in a billing cycle, and the total effective rate approaches 19 cents per kilowatt hour after all charges are applied, the consumer reality is not a supply issue versus a delivery issue. It is a total bill issue. Has the Commission conducted a comprehensive affordability analysis evaluating total effective residential rate relative to median household income growth in Delaware? Additionally, how does the Commission assess proportionality when delivery-related cost mechanisms continue to grow incrementally across proceedings? There appears to be growing public awareness of how riders and authorized returns operate within the regulatory framework. Transparency and proportionality are becoming central to public trust in this process. I urge the Commission to consider not only technical compliance within this docket, but the cumulative impact on residential consumers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Are you aware of the meeting on February 25th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in this office? It will be a public comment session on this matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, now we're on to the regular agenda, I believe. Yeah. You have 2 more? All right, there she is. Ms. Simon,
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Simon. I'm a resident of Wilmington. I'm also an attorney. here in Wilmington, and I have 3 points. The first one is I don't know how many residents or citizens know about this. I happened to see it on Facebook. I think it was published in the newspaper, and some other colleagues of mine and people I know are just sort of noticing it. And then it just so happened to come up that there was a hearing today. And I guess, is there going to be another public hearing?
There is not a hearing today on this matter.
Okay.
But there will be one on the 25th of February.
And how is that publicized?
I have it in the administrative matters on my agenda today.
Okay, I do
Mr.
think that,
Hartigan, Mr. Hartigan will address that.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Acting Chair. So there's several dockets before the commission. Next week, we're talking about Delmarva's large load tariff. There's also Delmarva's application for a rate increase,
Yes.
electric rate increase, which there will be another public comment session for that. That is not yet scheduled.
thank you.
Could I add
I
one,
do,
could I add
I'm
one further
sorry.
clarification? Because I think on the agenda for today is an item that flowed out of the last rate case. And so it appears on the agenda as if Delmarva's electric rate case is before the commission today, which is not on the agenda. I think it is a issue of grave concern to the public, but I think also there may be some misunderstanding that something will happen on that docket today. The agenda item that's on the docket today spills over from the last rate case and is an item related to neighborhoods that are being affected by electric surges and trying to resolve that for them.
The at-the-meter surge protector. Is
all
that-
right, so you are not hearing comments on the rate increase today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order, Madam Acting Chair. I thought I heard the question was, how will it be publicized?
I apologize.
Yes.
It will be on both the state meeting calendar and Delmarva's website.
Is there a way to publicize it further? Because I think posting it on Delmarva's website is not, absolutely not sufficient because people don't go on their website. And then putting it on your agenda, again, it's not, I don't think it's going to be widely seen. And I do feel that it impacts so many people in the state of Delaware. You probably have the numbers on that. How many hundreds of thousands? I would ask that it be publicized more than that.
We have a comment from Delmarva.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brian Jordan on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light Company. And to that specific question about notice, I would point out that typically we have also publicized notice in the newspapers. With the electric rate case, we have Delmarva service territory throughout the state. So we try to get it into the News Journal, the Cape Gazette, and the Delaware State News, in addition to publicizing it on our website. As Mr. Hartigan noted, a date has not been scheduled yet. But stay tuned for that and we will get the notice published there. I will also go back to my client and look into whether we can put it in the newspaper as well. I know that the law had changed maybe a year and a half ago, saying that we only needed to do it on the website. But to the extent the commission wishes, I'm certainly happy to have us do that in the newspaper again.
Thank you. I think that would be great.
Will do.
Is that better, Ms. Simon?
I mean, I don't know if that means the online paper as well. I don't know how many people actually get the physical newspaper. I would just ask that it be widely disseminated because, again, this affects hundreds of thousands of people. And I would hope that they would put it also on their online platform. The newspaper online platform, to be clear. Thank you.
I can't say how the News Journal actually publicizes it. I know it puts it in the print version. I don't have an answer for that one, though.
That would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you say we have one more?
Hello, everybody on the committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So what was the date again for the rate increase?
Excuse me, sir, could you please state your name
Yes, Ted
for the
Hinder.
record?
Sure, it's Ted Hinder.
And what was the question, please?
When the actual public comment is for the rate increase?
That hasn't been scheduled yet.
Does that answer your question, sir?
For now.
Okay, thank you.
The last person doesn't have a name, doesn't show it.
Right now, you're identified as iPhone on the Zoom. So if when you are ready to speak, you could state your name for the record, we would appreciate it.
Do you still wish to speak?
The caller who's identified as iPhone appears to be on mute.
They can't. He's gone. Whoever that person is gone. Are there any others?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, this is Councilwoman Xanthi Oliver. How you doing? I just wanted to make sure I was on the line.
You have questions?
No, when it gets to that point, I couldn't hear. I was just trying to make sure my computer was working, my phone was working right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I don't have a question right now. Thank you.
Councilwoman Oliver, can you mute your phone if you're not speaking, please?
Thank you. I'm sorry.
All right. The next thing is the regular agenda. Item number 1. In the matter of notification of Tidewater Utilities Incorporated, for proceeds related to PFAS and PFOS litigation, Commission is to consider proposed order 10964, approving the refund plan proposed by Tidewater Utilities Incorporated. We have Tidewater with us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kirsten Higgins, Vice President of Development and Contract Administration for Tidewater Utilities. I'd like to introduce to you today two people in the audience. David Juguna is from Middlesex Water Company. He's our new Vice President of Rates and Regulatory Affairs. So welcome. And we also have joining with us today, Bruce Patrick, President of Tidewater. We are here today to respectfully request that the Commission enter into Order 10964 as outlined in Tidewater's filing to the Commission dated January 9th, 2026. Tidewater is a claimant in 4 multi-district litigation MDL class action settlements involving PFAS contamination in public drinking water systems. The settling defendant groups include 3M, a collection of DuPont entities, Tyco entities, and BASF Corporation. Through December 31st, 2025, Tidewater has received $1.138 million from the 3M settlement, and we expect to receive an additional $808,000 through structured payments over the next 8 years. We also anticipate receiving smaller payments from DuPont, Tyco, and BASF, although the timing and final amounts of those payments is uncertain at this time. These proceeds are intended to reimburse Tidewater for past and future capital in investments, as well as operations and maintenance expenses related to PFAS contaminations within our water systems. Working collaboratively with the commission staff, Tidewater has developed a plan to return the $1.138 million in 2025 directly to customers through a one-time bill credit on March 1st, 2026. Based on our January 1st, 2026 customer count of 60,713 customers, the estimated credit is $18.75 per customer. Looking forward, Tidewater intends to return the remaining proceeds, including additional payments of 3M and the other three entities, through similar annual one-time bill credits. Beginning in April 2027 and continuing 7 years thereafter, we will refund customers the amounts received during the preceding calendar year. Tidewater believes that returning these proceeds directly to customers ensures the financial responsibility of the PFAS-related costs fall on the appropriate parties rather than on Tidewater's customers. For these reasons, we ask that you enter into Order 10964 approving the customer credit, and we're here to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Workman.
Kate Workman on behalf of staff. Staff would encourage the commission to enter order number 10964 as presented. Staff would like to thank Tidewater for their participation in this proceeding and for working collaboratively with staff to make sure this refund gets to customers. Thank you.
Counselor?
Nothing further to add from that. We're thankful that these customers are getting what they are owed.
Are there any questions, Commissioners?
Yes, Ms. Higgins, I have a question. The refund is, I think, will be very welcome by your customers. My question is, have you estimated what potential PFAS and PFOA removal might be for your company in the future if you have to invest in whatever reverse osmosis or any other of the technologies for PFAS removal?
We have operating expenses now because we have PFAS treatment at several of our facilities right now. And we have about 6 more in the planning works for this year. I do not have that number of the total O&M costs. I'm going to turn around my shoulder and see if Bruce has that number.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. And I can give you a good feel for the numbers that are involved. As Kirsten said, we currently treat at 4 sites. Keep in mind, Tidewater is a decentralized water utility, meaning we have 166 wells in all 3 counties, staggered across all 3 counties, which is a little different than one big, say, surface water plant or one large well field. So the 4 that we treat out are relatively small, and they range anywhere from 75 gallons a minute upwards of 250 to 300 gallons a minute. The investment for those 4 were about $600,000 for those 4. The additional, there's actually 8 that we're currently working on, and we're anticipating the capital cost for those to be about $250,000 a piece. So that's kind of the capital side. We use ion exchange resin that actually treats the PFAS, and the change out of the resin really varies depending on the throughput, depending on the concentration of the PFAS, and it varies greatly. To give you an example, we have one small system that the PFAS limits would exceed if not treated, but they're relatively low and the usage is low. The change out of that resin is like 50 years. It's a long time is what's modeled. That's unusual, but that's a very small system. We have other systems, and this is more common, where we will be changing out the resin about every 2 years. And we've already made some change out at a couple of those, and the change outs were between $40,000 and $50,000 for the resin that we changed out. So I hope that gives a rough idea of what we can expect, moving forward.
Thank you for that explanation. This is something that's going to cost everybody in the future. And my understanding is that PFAS and PFOAs are still going to be present and introduced into the waterways in the future because of all the uses. And so, it's unfortunate, but I appreciate that you guys are following up with treatment for people, and the refund again is going to be welcome to people. So thank you.
Commissioner Freer?
Thank you. The refund is always welcome, always. And you are growing in that direction and helping your customers. So we appreciate your openness and application, both. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. So would you say that the settlement from the liable parties is going to make you whole over the course and the scope of your PFAS intervention?
Where we're at now, the 166 wells, the way the regulation is written, 2025 and 2026 requires what they call preliminary investigation and sampling. And so we have sampled all of our unconfined wells, which is really where you're most susceptible to PFAS. We are sampling our confined wells in 2026. We do not anticipate that the confined wells would have PFAS. That's not to say they couldn't. So I think we have a decent handle today on what we can expect with the 4 that we treat and the 8 that we are proposing to treat. I will say groundwater moves, groundwater, flows. So that doesn't mean that a well that is not showing PFAS today will not show it tomorrow. And, we have sample wells a couple of years ago that were down below the detection limits. And then when they're resampled, and this is the case with any contaminant, be it PFAS, be it nitrates or whatever, that for some reason it starts to show up. A plume is there that wasn't there, say, a year or 2 years ago. So as it is right now, the capital side of things, the $1 million and the 800,000, when you do the math for the 600,000 that we spent and the 250 or so times the 8 that we're working on, it doesn't quite cover it. So I wouldn't say that we're made whole, but it really will put a big dent in it. And moving forward, of course, as you change out the resin, that will be an expense that will be, amortized over the life of the resin. So.
Understood. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it on behalf of your ratepayers. Madam Acting Chair, I'd like to move that we adopt order number 10964 as submitted.
We second the motion.
Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Second item on the agenda is the matter of the application of Delmarva Power and Light for an increase in electric base rates. Now, this is the one that applies to the pilot program for the at-the-meter surge protectors. We have Brian Jordan from DP&L.
Good afternoon, Acting Chair, members of the Commission. May it please the Commission, Brian Jordan for Delmarva Power and Light Company. And before the Commission is proposed order number 10965. And if you saw me approach this with a spring in my step, it's because I'm happy to announce that we are at the end of the beginning with this process here. This is one that originated, this agreement originated out of Delmarva's last electric rate case. That was 220897. But the genesis actually preceded that through a series of surges that our ratepayers in the Weldon Farms area were experiencing. And as part of that docket, the Weldon Farms, which is comprised of several neighborhoods in that area, intervened, and they were very effectively represented by Mary Graham. And as a result of her advocacy, we reached a settlement agreement that would obligate Delmarva to look at implementing a pilot program that would allow a certain number of residents in that community to install these at-the-meter surge protectors between the meter and the house. This is really the first time that Delmarva has allowed that to happen. And what I mean by that is to put something in that socket that the meter gets plugged into. As Ms. Graham and the public advocate and Delmarva had negotiated over the years on this, we learned of another neighborhood along Mount Lebanon Road that was experiencing similar surges. And the similarity between them is that they're on these overbuilt lines. So if a tree would fall and make contact with the top wire and the second and the wire underneath of it, it would send these surges into the homes. I know the commission has heard public comment from some of these residents in the past, and those are things that we had all taken into account. And so as we were negotiating this, we opened up this potential pilot program to members of those communities or that community as well. And so what the commission has in front of it is the agreement to start what is it going to be a 3-year pilot program. There's also some tariff sheets that Delmarva is proposing for the commission's approval that would allow this to take effect. What I'll do is I'll walk the commission through how this program will start, what some of the responsibilities are, what the limitations are. If this order is approved, we will start an enrollment period on March 1, 2026. That will go 45 days, and during that time, those residential ratepayers who live and get their service off of 2 feeders, that's feeder DE0672, as well as feeder DE0288, they can contact Delmarva Power. And what they'll do is they'll call this number, 1-800-466-9495, to reserve a spot in the program. Now, this program is limited to 50 homes off of each feeder, so a total of 100 homes. It'll be done on a first-come, first-served basis. At the end of that 45 days, Delmarva will then go through that list to identify that the caller is eligible because he or she is fed off of that service. And then we'll determine first come, first serve. After that enrollment period, there'll be a 30-day notification period where Delmarva Power will notify those residents who were accepted into the program, as well as those who were not. Once that period ends, the actual pilot program will begin on June 1st, 2026. It'll last for 36 months. As part of that program, those who have been enrolled in the program will have the choice of 2 devices. They're made by different manufacturers. There is the companies are called Kenick, K-E-N-I-C-K, and the other one is Brooks. We've identified the models that are available to the residents, and for Brooks, it's model MBSA-4J-180. For Kenick, it is model SS320-4J. What the residents will do is they'll be able to purchase these through an electric supply house in the state. Delmarva will not be purchasing these devices, nor will we purchase them on behalf of the customer or resell them. Part of that is because Delmarva is not going to insert itself in the commercial relationship between the residential ratepayer and the manufacturer of these devices. Once that device is purchased, the homeowner will then have his or her electrician come and install that device. What that electrician will do is he or she will call Delmarva to de-energize the meter, pop the meter off, put the surge protector in, put the meter back on. Once the meter's back on, Delmarva will come out and reseal the meter. That'll go for 36 months. During the pilot program, we'll see how effective these are. So if there are surges, the homeowners will notify Delmarva if a surge causes damage to electronics, stereo systems, solar panels, whatever, or if not. And that way we can gauge to see how effective these are. Of course, we'll be watching it too to see if these devices pose a problem in terms of negatively affecting the supply of electricity to the house or to neighbors, not expected but possible, whether these devices get too hot for the meter, or something like that would affect the recording of electricity. The reason we had chosen these 2 models after we had picked them, made sure that they were compatible with the socket adapter there, so that way the surge protector can go in there, and that they would not speed up or slow down how the meter records energy usage. So that way the homeowner is not being overcharged or undercharged because of one of these devices. During the program, there may come a time where Delmarva has to remove a meter. And what we have set up with that we've agreed upon with the homeowners and with the public advocate is that there's two situations where if the meter has to be removed, the ratepayer will be entitled to a $200 bill credit to have their electrician come out and reinstall this device. Those situations would be in the case of field meter testing. The likelihood of that is very low. Field meter testing is a random sampling of all of Delmarva, Delaware, and Maryland customers to see how the meters are doing. So the statistical probability amongst the 500,000 customers we have that one of these 100 homes will be chosen is low. But if that does happen, and Delmarva has to remove the meter and the surge protector to check its efficacy, what Delmarva will do, will put the meter back on, leave the device with the homeowner or on top of the meter, and then the homeowner would hire the electrician to come back out and then start this bill credit, this up to $200 rebate on their bill. As I understand it, as we've negotiated this, technology has improved, whereas now, instead of taking that meter off of the house and the surge protector out to the truck on the street to test it, we now have the tools that we can take the tools from the truck to the house and test it without having to remove everything, which is good. The other one is if Delmarva has to replace that meter on its own initiative. And this would cover if a surge comes through and fries the meter. What Delmarva will do is go out, remove the fried meter, remove the at the meter surge protector, put on a new meter, leave that surge protector off, because we're not inserting ourselves into that relationship. I mentioned with the manufacturer or between the homeowner and the electrician. But we would also would notify the homeowner either in person or a note on the door that we've been out there, we've changed the meter. You can find the device on top of the meter, or we would hand it to the homeowner. And again, that would then start the opportunity for that $200 bill credit. So as I mentioned, this will be in place for 36 months. We'll see how it works, and look at to see whether or if it could be expanded statewide. One of the difficulties that we encountered during the negotiations for this, when we looked at other jurisdictions, those power companies have a third-party affiliate who handles all of this. Delmarva does not have that. That's why we had said we are not going to insert ourselves into that commercial relationship. That's what a third-party affiliate would do. That third-party affiliate would have the appropriate insurance and be able to cover any risks. But as I mentioned, Delmarva does not have that. So that's why we have this sort of hybrid where the residential ratepayer will be responsible for hiring an electrician to install the device, as opposed to the power company doing that. We do have a list of electricians who have been through Delmarva's internal process. That's not saying that they're the best electricians or that they're competent or anything like that. It's just that they have been certified to remove one of these meters. So we've got that list that we'll provide to the consumers as well. There's dozens of names on there. It's not just one or two. So they'll have a choice of who they want to hire for that. That said, I started with my thanks and recognition of Ms. Graham. I want to repeat that. I also want to thank Mr. Crumpler, Mr. Tweedy, as well as Ruth Ann Price, the previous public advocate, because she did a lot in getting this across the line too. So with that said, I also said this is the end of the beginning. And so we would ask that the commission enter order number 10965 to get this pilot program underway. You're welcome.
Nothing really further to add from what Mr. Jordan said. This process has been going on for a while before I started in this role, and it is the end of the beginning. We are trying to help this community get through the terror that they dealt with these searches, and I think all the parties have been negotiating in good faith. We've had in-person meetings. Brian was talking about these neighborhoods. We had various folks from DPA the community in Delmarva, walk around these communities to really understand what was going on. And it really made a lot more sense when we were there to see, oh, this is why this is happening. And I think this pilot program Delmarva is putting a lot of work into it, but the community members themselves, they also have to show that they are interested as well. And again, it's a pilot program, so we're going to see what happens.
Graham, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Mary Graham, and I'm a homeowner with the interveners, and I have.
Ms. Graham, if you can speak into the mic.
Sorry, and I've. Is it on? I don't hear a difference.
Now we can.
Okay, but you do. All right. And you've permitted me to address you before. I would just like to say, number one, is that I and the interveners very much support this application. And I got to tell you, it's been 2 years of work and negotiation. And even this morning at 10 o'clock, I wasn't sure it was going to go forward. But Mr. Jordan has been really terrific, hanging in there to make this happen. And I have to say, he's got to be one of the most good-natured and patient people that I've dealt with in a legal context. And, you know, he's got to rope his client in, which is, I don't think is all necessarily all that easy, but he doesn't have to comment on that. But I appreciate the public advocate. I appreciate the an attorney, and I appreciate the prior public advocate and their attorney Regina Iori, who was very important in all this, and Mr. Geddes, who I don't think is here, Mr. Hartigan, and members of the staff. And I want to say one thing. Well, I want to say a couple things, but one is with respect to these ATM at the meter devices. Keep in mind, our intervention arose because of what I call the mega surges, those massive surges that come into your house from the tree falling on this super high voltage line. Your house, your whole electric service in your house was not meant for that. So the first thing that we dealt with when we intervened and were trying to settle this was getting these so-called surge arresters. If you remember, these sit out on Delmarva's lines. That's where you really want to work, right? You don't want these surges getting to your house. You've already kind of lost the battle when that happens. So we got through all that. And then, well, we also had a portion of the settlement addressed to better communication, which is still, I think, important and could use some work on. But then these at-the-meter devices, these don't stop that mega surge from getting to your house. What we hope they do, and what the public advocate's wonderful expert has also made clear, is that they help to mitigate some of the damage going into your house from if you get another mega surge, which I have to assume we will, right? Those trees are still there. The weather is still changing. Older trees, they're falling. It's going to happen. So at least this is another layer of protection. And, you know, hopefully, and we're only 75 miles in Delmarva's territory that are on overbuild. But there's something that can be, if this works, can be expanded, not just to us, but to everybody. And I want to talk a little bit about the future, because as Mr. Jordan said, this, what did you say? This is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning?
End of the beginning.
End of the beginning. Well, there's still a really big issue that's out there, and that's trees or burying the lines. You know, again, it's what do you do to prevent the massive surges, not the lightning strikes, but the massive surges from getting to your house? And trees are a big, big issue. They're an issue for these folks on Mount Lebanon Road. And we've sort of held off from pressing Delmarva on this and really working through this because of the at-the-meter devices. So you know, I don't think you're done probably seeing us. And one of the things I want to make clear to you all, because you might not appreciate this, you have all the utilities come in, and maybe once in a while a few members of the public, and you're sitting there and we're presenting you with something. So, you know, it's pretty easy for you, but you might not realize how critical your role is. You know, behind this curtain, there's a lot going on. And one of the things, you know, I have to end up saying to Mr. Jordan, well, you know, tell your people. And I think of Delmarva, it's like all these little prairie dogs. They're in their little holes. They're very risk averse. They don't want to come out because it's risky, risky, risky. So the one place that can cause them to have to come out of their holes and actually take on a little bit of risk or, you know, respond more to the public is you guys. And you might not even realize it because we don't necessarily come to you and say, and ask you for something. But Delmarva knows that you're here. So, you really are performing a very important role. And I think, and I know, and I tell people you have been very welcoming to the public coming in. I have felt totally like I can come in, you will listen and be responsive. And I know you encourage your executive director, and he encourages his staff to really be a good place for the public. So I want to thank you for that. And, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see you again in the future over trees. Thank you.
Ms. Graham, I have a question, if you don't mind. How many homes are there? Are you in Weldon Ridge or Weldon Park? I'm
in Weldon Farms.
Weldon
and
Farms.
Weldon Ridge is also part of this. Weldon Park was not an intervener, but because Edward Nathan, who has spoken to this commission about these at-the-meter devices, and he's the one who researched and came up with this and has been in the background as part of the discussions with Mr. Jordan. But they are also in the pilot, and I'm not sure. It's at least 1,000 homes, I believe, that are on our circuit.
I believe that's right. I don't know how many of them are within the Weldon Farms, Weldon Road, the interveners group, though.
So we're talking about 1,000 plus the Rockland Mills
Correct.
communities and the other houses up on the hill with Rockland Mills. I don't know if that's considered part of Rockland Mills.
If they're served off of that feeder. And I
It
believe
must be because the person who came in here, the woman who came in here and talked about the issues that she had.
they should be included. And Commissioner Drexler, I think you're talking about the woman who has stood out in my mind because she had the elevator in the house. Yeah, exactly. I believe there are 58 homes in that area. And so 50 of them would be eligible, like I said, on a first come, first serve.
I think among the interveners, I'm just trying to run the numbers in my head. I think that's probably more like about 300 people, because all the people down Weldon Road that didn't intervene, they're also in this. So I could certainly endeavor to get you the a closer number with its help.
Just was wondering if talking about a total of 200 homes, but more than 1,000
Potential. Yeah.
participants in the.
We thought about what number would be the right people to do for a pilot. I wanted it to be a success. I wanted it to be as fully, subscribed as possible. I didn't want to open up a pilot to 1,000 people and have, 30 people sign up, because that doesn't sound very good. And also, then I think, I hadn't appreciated this till Mr. Jordan explained it. There are huge practical things for Delmarva to have to do to get this thing really operating correctly. And so when I later approached him about upping the number at the request of the Rockland Mills people, he said, that's just would be really difficult to do. So I don't know if that helps your concerns about the numbers.
Thank you. I really wanted to know how widespread the potential was. And whether it's going to be oversubscribed or not, but it's a great start. And when can they make the call?
So the enrollment period, Your Honor, starts March 1st of 2026. And we do have outreach planned through the civic associations to the communities to bring up awareness. I can't say today, for a fact, but I have a strong hunch that the communities are aware of what's happening today. And this program getting started.
All of the information all of those numbers that you provided regarding the 2 meter, the surge protectors, the devices, and the phone number and the line numbers are all in the proposed tariff if anybody needs those. So.
And they have been or will be part of the outreach to through the civic associations.
Could I add one point? It's a very important one, actually, which I forgot to make, which is what was holding us up until 10 o'clock today is making absolutely sure that Delmarva was going to remove the at-the-meter device if it needed to replace the meter, especially if there had been one of these mega surges that zaps the meter. It's likely it zaps the at-the-meter device, and Mr. Nathan was absolutely adamant, he'd done a lot of research, that that device should not stay on when the power came back up. So as I understand it, and that was how we resolved this and allowed me to come here today in support of the application, is that Delmarva will be removing an at-the-meter device when it has to replace a meter.
Correct.
Madam Acting Chair. May I have?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jordan, Ms. Graham. Appreciate you being here, staying involved. I think I understand the process of enrollment. I think I understand the scope of how many folks you want to get involved. But this comes to us as a matter of application for an increase in base rates. So I'm focusing now on the scope of the pilot program itself, because I didn't see very much that describes what determines the pilot program's success or failure, and what is the measure of the base rate increase as a consequence of the pilot program, and who gets that allocation. Is it the folks involved in the program, the drivers of the cost? Is it socialized across the rate base?
Commissioner Gray, let me start with that question. There's a little bit of history here, and it was a question that Mr. Hartigan had too about whether this is the appropriate docket or we should open a new one. The answer to there will be no rate increase as part of this. The reason we included this in this docket was because this program generated specifically from the settlement agreement on this docket. And so for ease and efficiency of keeping track of this, on having it on the one docket, that's why we included it in this one. So we're not seeking to impose any rates on ratepayers. So there's no increase or change in rates for this. It's just changing the tariff to let the homeowners install one of these devices.
Footnote to that response. So if you have bill credits that are triggered by some scenarios in the pilot program, that will accrue a cost.
Yes.
By my estimation, 200 folks, 200 apiece, about $40,000, right?
That's possible. So that bill credit only gets triggered in one of two circumstances, whether we have to do the at-the-meter field testing, which it's not a 0%, but it's pretty low. The more likely scenario, although I still think it's not going to be common, is if we have to replace the meter on our own initiative or because there's a surge. So the homeowner would apply for that $200 bill credit. And that is something that we are tracking as part of this agreement specific to this pilot program to make that available. We had a discussion with a public advocate that at the next rate case, not the one that's been filed, but the next one, we would collect all of those costs and seek recovery of them. I think what we're talking about in terms of raw dollars is, don't mark my words, but I think it'll be likely low, just because these bill credits are not automatic, and they require, as I mentioned, one of those two events to occur.
Okay, you've clarified the mechanism. That was more important for me, whether or not there's a push on the ratepayer total socialized or just within the folks in the pilot program, but you've clarified it's the next rate case request. So now if you could satisfy a little concern for me, what determines a pilot plan success or failure?
That is, so what we're doing with this, Delmarva also has to submit a semi-annual surge report. And so what we're looking at there, we're going to collect all of the information on surges that have hit these lines and into these homes. That's going to require cooperation from the homeowners to identify when a surge, when a surge they felt the surge in the house, well, not physically felt it, but experienced the surge in the house, and then let us know, okay, this surge damaged my my stereo or my TV or some sort of electronic, and we'll have a running log of all of that stuff. And the goal isn't to figure out how many devices were affected or the cost of it all, but whether, as Ms. Graham mentioned, these devices have helped mitigate the surge coming in and the damages. And it's kind of a moving target, Your Honor, because we don't have a metric where we're going to say, well, if we have 10 surges and this works 90% of the time, we're going to expand this into, the rest of the service territory. Or, if we have 10 surges and it only works 2% of the time, or, 2 times out of those 10, it's just not effective. I think what we're really looking for from Delmarva is whether these devices are safe in terms of not, we don't have any experience with these. We don't want them getting so hot that it starts a fire and catches a house on fire. We don't want these to somehow negatively affect electricity for another customer. That's what we're going to be looking for, in addition to whether they have been able to mitigate these damages. So, and I understand that that's not, like I said, we don't have a specific metric to say this is successful, but those are the factors that we're going to be tracking. And then at the end of the program, look to see how ultimately, what conclusions did they lead us to in terms of, can we expand this beyond the overbuilt lines? And if so, how would we roll something like that out? One of the things Ms. Graham had mentioned is the difficulty that internally Delmarva has when it comes to these, because we've got 300,000 plus customers in Delaware. In order to get a program of this magnitude online, requires a massive amount of IT work, and that alone is something we're going to be tracking internally to see if this does get expanded. Make sure that we've got the IT support in place, so if a customer calls with a question about it, we can respond to it effectively. So that's a lot to say. There's a lot that we're considering, but I don't have a baseline to say, if we hit this metric, we're going to propose expanding it. If we fall below this metric, we're not.
Okay, one last question, and I think Ms. Graham touched on this. So you put surge arresters in these communities several months ago, within the last year, I would think. And is it true that the surge arresters that were already deployed may not be sufficient to actually arrest the surges that make it to the homes?
I think it's more of, as Ms. Graham had mentioned, it's more of a ounce of prevention, pound of cure type of a situation, in the sense that this can help mitigate those surges. It's not going to prevent them. And I don't want to get too far ahead, Your Honor, because I know we do have the semi-annual surge report that'll be coming out with more details when it comes to numbers and that sort of thing. As I understand, though, those arresters have been effective in doing their job. But I would just, if I could just tread water until we get that surge report put together.
That's fair. No further questions, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you very much for the information, Mr.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
A question regarding those devices, those surge protectors. I'm looking up the price online right now, and those seem to be in the $80 to $90 range. Is that what you're seeing for the actual device that the homeowner will put on the?
I thought they were about $200, but Your Honor, the last I looked at it was over the summertime. So if it's less, that's even better.
Might be looking at whole house surge protectors, and that's not what these are. And the whole house surge protectors have a varying price, but I've never been able to find the price that we would be charged by a supply house. But when in investigating it, we've been told, in the arena of $200, something like that.
You're welcome.
No further questions, Madam Acting Chair.
Other questions from commissioners? Right, then I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the order number 10965.
I'll second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
All right. And the next item on the agenda is the final report for the Delmarva auctions. And we're looking for Nate Felsman to introduce. All right, Trish.
Good afternoon, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. We are here to present the final presentation on the standard offer service auctions. Here today representing Liberty is Jim Ledzelter. Dr. Ledzelter is a management consultant with over 30 years of experience in the electric power industry, including serving as the Commission's technical consultant for over 10 years. For those who would like to follow along, the slide presentation will be viewable on stream. It is posted to the agenda and filed in docket 250747 on Delafile, the Commission's e-filing system. Staff is not asking for any Commission action today. We are just updating you on the final status of the auction. Dr. Ledzelter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tricia, and good afternoon, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. It's always a pleasure. I'm here today on behalf of Liberty Consulting to present the report on Delmarva's 2026 RFP and the associated auctions for the procurement of supply for the standard offer service customers. And could you please go to the next slide, page 2. As just a summary of what happened this year, the RFP covered approximately 570 megawatts of load. That's typical. The participation and competition was overall very good, and there were more bidders than in recent years. And within each block that was up for auction, we had a lot of bids take place. So that was very comforting to see. And we assume that promoted competition that we saw in the ultimate prices. The RFP process and the people involved all went very well, and there's nothing to be concerned with on that front. And finally, and most importantly, the winning bids were consistent with expectations based on the current market conditions. And although maybe not as low as we would like or have been historically, they were consistent with what we see out there in the market for energy and capacity prices at the wholesale level. Next slide. So as an overview, I mentioned there were 570 or so megawatts of load broken down into 2 tranches. Tranche 1 has the most, with all 4 customer class having blocks to be auctioned. And then Tranche 2 has just Risky and MGS for 13 blocks overall. All of the blocks were filled, and there was competition that I would consider strong in each and every one of these block auctions. Next slide. Okay, so, oops, back one, please. Thank you. So we took a look at the weighted average winning bid prices by average for the number of blocks for the year. And what we saw is that the average price to the Risky class for supply went up $16, which is about 19%. For MGS, which is the medium general service, is up almost $12 or up 14.5%. Large general service, GSP, was up a little over $7 or almost 8%. And GSP, which is the largest level of service available, actually showed a small decrease. And what we'll see later in this presentation around slide 9, where I show the tracking of prices over the last several years by class. The fact that GSP went down isn't an indication that much has changed in terms of making it better. It's just that last year we had a extremely high price outcome that was unexpected. So that has leveled back down to a place more in line with the market. Next slide. So what does this all mean for the customer? This table here was provided by Delmarva, where they take the prices that were procured through the auctions and apply that to their billing system to estimate what the average customer will see in terms of change in their bill. And you can see that residential is looking to go up around 7%. SGS, which is small general service non-demand, when combined with residential, is the Risky blocks that were up for auction, is between 5 and 6% increase. MGS will increase about 10%, LGS around 5%, and GSP, as I mentioned earlier, will go down not even 1%. It's about the same as last year. Next slide. I talked a little bit about the overall level of competition, and the key parameter here is the actual number of suppliers that showed up to be bidders. And you can see with 10 bidders this year, that's the most we've had in any of the past 6 years total. So that's a very good sign. Next slide. A lot of numbers here, but this basically shows that for each tranche, for each block, how many bidders participated in that particular block and how many bids were received. And compared to historical numbers, these are very good. So nothing to see here, or at least nothing to be concerned about. Next slide, please. So for 2026, over the course of the 2 tranches, we had 6 different suppliers that bid that won blocks. Now, there were 7 in 2025, but still 6 shows what I would call a very good level of diversity among suppliers, meaning that, you know, a number of suppliers are in there bidding competitively, and that results in prices that are fair. Next slide. And I mentioned earlier that I've tracked prices for the past 5 years. I've actually got a much longer view of this to show you shortly. A couple takeaways here that are most important. Prices have risen from all blocks clearing just over $60 back in 2022 to a lot of them in the $100 range, except for MGS, which is sort of in the low 90s. This is concerning, of course, because the prices have risen over the last 5 years. And the other thing to take away is that you can see GSP going from 2024 to 2025 to a very high price relative to the other customer classes. And that's why you saw it actually come down this year when, again, it was more a function of how out of nowhere high it was last year in 2025. Next slide. This is basically the same thing you saw on the previous slide, except I brought it all the way back to take a look at 20 years total. When you look at just the last 5 years, of course, you see a high level of increase in the prices of the winning bids. But to put it into context, you know, we had similar prices, even higher prices back in 2008. And then we had a long-term decline from that period of 2008 to about 2021 before it started rising again. So I just wanted to let you know sort of what it looks like from the past 20 years history. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier with diversity, that there were 6 winning bidders this time. There were still 7 total bidders because this supply chart includes risky blocks that were won in 2025, which of course cover a 2-year delivery period. So you can see that we actually have 7 different suppliers that are providing energy to all of Delmarva's classes. And Vitol is now the leading supplier, and Axpo is behind that. And then just a number of other companies have smaller shares. So this is good overall. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the processes, including everything related to the auctions, were well run. Participation was strong, and it resulted in a high level of competition. And the winning bids were most importantly consistent with market conditions. Next slide. Now I have an appendix here that shows an overview of the energy market, and that's power, gas market, the power gas relationship, and the capacity market, which I will defer to the commission to see if you would like to go over these again. It's all part of my written report that's also been submitted, but I'm happy to go through this at your request.
They seem in agreement that you don't need to do that, sir.
I can't hear what was just said.
I'm sorry, but none of the commissioners has any questions or anything, so it looks like you're okay.
Okay, great.
Could I,
Jim, the DPA. Jim, the DPA has questions.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, hello.
Would you mind flipping back to this, either slide 9 or slide 10? Great, thanks. So on this slide and the next slide, you show the price history over time. This one is just the last few years and shows a pretty steep increase from roughly $60 a megawatt hour to now up over $100 a megawatt hour, at least for the risky class.
Correct.
And on the next slide, it shows a longer history that it shows a decrease and now bouncing back up to about the same level it was 20 years ago. Do you have any sense of what we should anticipate in the future, particularly given projections of dramatically expanding electricity load, including from hyperscale and large load facilities?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And first and foremost, the prices that you achieve through an auction are largely driven by expectations of the future, because the auctions take place in late November, early December for Tranche 1, and then late January, early February for Tranche 2, which don't start being delivered until June of that year. And in the case of the risky block, the blocks, plural, those prices don't take effect until June, and they last for 2 years. So the market is already factoring in 2 years out. But every time there's a sort of a major paradigm shift, if you will, in the industry, the market wants to take advantage of it, or at least be to hedge against the risks of it if they're supplying energy. So all of the things that will be coming down the pipe, so to speak, have been factored in. So long term, anything beyond that 2 years from the beginning of June 26, it really can't be factored yet into these prices. But suffice it to say that PJM has the issue of capacity and energy prices on their mind, most notably what they're doing to try to find a solution for capacity. And there isn't a long-term solution that's been proven yet anywhere. But a lot of what we see here, in addition to energy prices having risen from gas, which leads to power price, energy prices rising, a lot of it has to do with the capacity price, which in certain submarkets within PJM has grown tenfold over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, thank you. And
Sure.
I wonder if you could just expand a little bit on what you just mentioned there, which is sort of these prices generally tracking prices or costs for natural gas given our generation mix.
Yeah, sure. I would like to address that. If you could slide the presentation forward a little bit. I have a slide number 16, please. So what this shows is that in black, I've plotted the forward prices for Transco Zone 6 non-New York gas, which is the most appropriate trading hub for natural gas that would be fired to serve load in the Delaware, in the Delmarva zone of PJM. And you can see how there's a fairly close tracking between the two over the course of the 2-year delivery period. But even moreover, and this is a slide I actually haven't provided before in previous presentations and reports. If you go to the next slide on 17, I then just recently now plotted a scatter diagram of power prices versus gas prices for the same two zones I just mentioned, Transco Zone 6 non-New York and PJM's Delaware zone. And this shows that for every level of gas along the horizontal axis in terms of dollars per million BTU, what the equivalent price at that very time was for forward prices in dollars per megawatt hour for energy. And you can see that when you draw a linear regression through this, there is a tight correlation between those gas prices and electricity, such that if you know the gas price, you could just pretty much put it on that line and take a pretty good guess at what the gas price should be. And this is all borne out by performing an R-squared correlation coefficient of 0.84, which is a very high level of correlation. So I hope that answered your question.
And not being a statistics person, what this tells us is that that electricity costs are likely to track natural gas costs, and so if natural gas costs go up in the future, we're likely to see continued upward pressure on electricity costs as well.
Yes, and vice versa. As gas prices fall, you would see a corresponding decline in electric prices. And I will just volunteer this extra information so we're clear. We're talking about, in this case, on this chart and the previous one, we're talking about the wholesale prices for gas and the wholesale prices for power. And that does not, it's the most important contributor to what you see in the auction prices for the blocks that are auctioned off in the SOS RFP. But those prices also include capacity, which is a wholesale commodity in the units of dollars per megawatt day that then get translated to an equivalent dollars per megawatt hour and tacked on to this as well. So this doesn't tell the whole picture, but it does show that over any given time period where all other things equal, including capacity prices, how energy prices will correspond to the gas price.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so very much, Dr. Ledzelter. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, and now we're on to the hearing schedule, I believe. This is the matter of the application of Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for approval of its environmental rider rate to be effective December 1st, 2025 through which was enacted October 31st, 2025, PSC docket 25-1208. And we have Mr. Bill O'Brien.
Thank you, Acting Chair Conaway and Commissioners. Bill O'Brien on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities, and I have Jeffrey Weiss from our regulatory team with me. This is the hearing on Chesapeake's application for approval of a decrease to its environmental rider rate to be effective December 1, 2025. This rider is adjusted annually and provides recovery of the cost of environmental cleanups. Today's application relates to the company's cleanup of the former Seaford Town gas site under an agreement with DENREC. It's a dollar-for-dollar pass-through spread out over 5 years with a true-up. The rate change before you today is a decrease from our current surcharge of 0.116 cents per therm to 0.074 cents per therm, and the change is uncontested. While an evidentiary hearing is required, you've already seen the application and the supporting documents, and we're going to try to move through this quickly. The Commission should have in front of them an exhibit log. I believe that staff agrees that the exhibits on the exhibit log are admissible, and therefore I would ask that those exhibits be marked and entered into evidence. Thank you. Chesapeake would like to call Jeffrey Weiss as a witness and ask that he be sworn.
I do.
Please state your name, address, and position with Chesapeake Utilities.
My name is Jeffrey Weiss. My business address is 500 Energy Lane, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19901. I'm a regulatory analyst with Chesapeake Utilities.
Did you prepare and file an application for approval to implement a new rate under the company's environmental rider tariff provisions?
Yes, I did.
In connection with that application, have you also prepared pre-filed testimony dated October 31st, 2025, consisting of 10 pages of testimony as well as attachments JVW-1 through JVW-5 and exhibits 1 through 3?
Yes, I have.
And if I were to ask you today the questions set forth in your pre-file testimony, would your answers be the same?
Yes, they would.
Please summarize the company's proposal in this docket.
In this application, the company is requesting approval of its environmental rider, proposing to change the rate level of 0.116 cents per therm to a surcharge of 0.074 cents per therm, effective for service rendered 12/1/25 through 11/30/26. Chesapeake incurred $31,786.55 of actual environmental expenses during the environmental cost year ending 9/30/25, which consisted of consulting, legal, and other expenses related to the Seaford Town Gas site. Chesapeake followed the approved methodology to calculate the proposed rate of 0.074 cents per therm. As a result of this proposed change, an average residential heating customer using 700 therms per year will experience an annual decrease of approximately 0.02% or 29 cents.
Have you had a chance to review staff's memo to the commission in this matter from Shona Marshall?
Yes, I have.
Do you disagree with any of her statements or recommendations?
No, I do not.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time. Mr. Weiss is available for cross-examination.
Staff has no questions.
No questions from the DPA.
Any other commissioners? Thank you both very much.
Thank you. So based on the exhibits submitted into evidence and the testimony presented today, Chesapeake respectfully requests the commission adopt proposed order number 10647. And I'd like to thank commission staff for its review and assistance in this matter. Thank you.
Madam Acting Chair, we have a witness who needs to testify as well. We're going to agree with everything, but needs to happen. Staff ask that Shawna Marshall be sworn in.
Yes.
Please state your name and business address for the record.
Shawna Marshall, 861 Silver Lake Boulevard, Cannon Building, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19904.
By whom are you employed?
The Delaware Public Service Commission.
What is your position with the commission?
Public Utility Analyst.
And in connection with your employment, have you performed certain review and investigation in this docket?
Yes, I reviewed the application, testimony, and invoices for contractors and consultants in this docket.
Can you briefly summarize the application filed by Chesapeake Utilities Corporation in docket number 25-1208?
Yes, Chesapeake filed their environmental rider rate application on October 31st, 2025. Chesapeake proposed a rate of 0.00077 per CCF or 0.00074 per therm, which is a decrease from the previously approved rate of 0.0012 per CCF, to be effective on December 1st, 2025. For the average residential customer using 700 therms per year, the decrease will be 0.03% or 29 cents per year.
What is your recommendation to the commission today?
Staff performed a review of the application, testimony submitted by Mr. Wise, and additional supporting invoices provided by the company for accuracy and completeness. Staff verified the mathematical accuracy for all the documentation comprising the rate and did not find any manifest errors in the calculation. Based on staff's review and analysis, the application complies with the current ERR tariff on file with the commission and is just and reasonable. Therefore, staff respectfully recommends that the commission approve as final the ERR of 0.00074 per therm that became effective with usage on and after December 1st, 2025 in order number 10875.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Ms. Marshall is now available for any cross-examination.
Nothing from Chesapeake. Thank you.
Nothing from the DPA.
That concludes staff's case.
Thank you much. We have before us proposed order number 10966.
I move that we adopt proposed order number 10966 as presented.
I second the motion.
Any questions on the motion?
Madam Chair, did I hear from the public advocate on this matter?
Yeah, there are no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. No further comments.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're into administrative matters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. I did want to circle back to Councilwoman Oliver. She's still with us to see if she had any questions. Apparently not. So our next meeting will be March 11th.
Nothing else. Right. I do want to apologize for all of the confusion that started this. There were some things published that were not quite right. So thank you all for coming. Meeting is adjourned.